Okay, I'll be monitoring the waiting room to see if any more people want to join us this morning. But let's go ahead and get started. I want to officially welcome everybody to Integral Church on this Sunday, May 24th. We've got an exciting one today. A lot of hands-on this morning, which is exciting for me to see some more people wanting to get involved. We've got Alina going to lead us in some movement in the Via Positiva. We have Lee is going to talk about the recent yesterday's breaking of the fast and the celebration of Eid al-Fitr in Islam. And we have Susan who is going to lead us in our closing meditation today. So we've got a nice full program of stuff that I don't have to talk a lot about, which really feels great for me. I don't have to do a lot of it. So I'm very thankful for those of you who are continuing to kind of step up and make this circle something that is very participatory and full, just very rich and full in a lot of ways. I'm very, very grateful to all of you. For those who haven't been or maybe watching this on Facebook or YouTube for the first time, welcome to Integral Church. We are an interfaith group, an interfaith circle. We're composed of many people of different beliefs, traditions, paths. We're atheists and Catholics and Buddhists and Baha'is and Sufis and Jews and Taoists and you name it, all gathering together. I believe we're born into or enter through the front door of a belief system, some kind of structure, a view of the world, a cosmology, and that we eventually exit through the back door of that belief system into this lush shared garden courtyard. And that is interfaith dialogue, that is deep religious pluralism, and that is where we as Integral Church choose to throw down a blanket and gather together in a circle. Our circle is interspiritual in that we like to try on different practices and prayers and songs and sacred texts and ways of making meaning to see how they feel and if they work for us. So you will see various ideas and practices presented here. And we are willing participants in that experiment of both understanding spirit as a force or a presence and spirituality as an attitude or a line of development. Our circle is integral, so that means we include everyone's values and politics and ways of being and doing, the entire spectrum of consciousness, from the ego to the void, and all are welcome here. Because in the spirit of religious pluralism, we're gathering not only to put our differences aside, but also so that we might fit together, complementary pieces of the puzzle. And until very recently, and we still identify as a wild church. That means we have turned to nature and to one another to create connection and to form community. Nature has been our doorway to define encounter, and without the aid of altar, temple, building, or facility. And very soon here we'll return to nature and begin circling again in nature. But we've been turning to the virtual tools of Zoom and other platforms to experiment with our connection in new ways. And that is this unique challenge, remaining rooted in our natural biological connections and reaching out, stretching, transcending beyond that biology and that greening power out into not only the noosphere, that of consciousness, but also the technosphere, that of that man-made layer that encircles the planet. That is now where we are connecting and experimenting and communicating with one another. So officially, welcome. And for all the participants who are muted, we've got our cameras on. We're seeing each other's beautiful faces this morning, connecting in ways that maybe we're not used to if we've been in quarantine. Also want to encourage you to hit the chat button, open up the chat window, click on the participants button, open up that list of people who are in the room, and use the chat to communicate, to ask questions, to provide feedback, to have side conversations. That's okay too. Go ahead and use that chat. First, and we are recording, but we're not streaming, so nobody's watching from the outside. the very first chat we'll do. This is always fun. I know where you all are, but we're going to do this one anyway. Because everybody has some clever and sometimes snarky answers to this question, so we're always going to ask it. Where in the world are you? There you go. It's in the chat. You guys can respond. Last time Susan gave her actual mailing address, so if you guys wanted to send her a Christmas card or something, you can refer back to that. So where in the world are you? It's there in the chat. Let us know. And while you're responding to that, I'll follow up with the second question. It looks like this week we might all be in... Oh, Lee's in Tampa. I was going to say we might all be in St. Pete, but Lee's in Tampa. That's great. And yeah, you guys are technically in Gulfport. In the kitchen. Okay, in the kitchen. Good. The porch. Moving first, the first of the four paths, the via positiva. This is the path of wonder. It's in awe and wonder and beauty and joy, blessing and mystery of the nature of all beings, each of whom, as Hildegard says, is a word of God, a mirror of God that glistens and glitters. And in that the spirit of that first path, the via positiva, the path of awe and gratitude and wonder, I'm going to pose our first official question. What are you grateful for today? What are you grateful for specifically this morning? You've woken up and you're feeling the day and what it might have in store. What are the opportunities or gifts that you are specifically grateful for today? Go ahead and put those in the chat. And while we're responding to that and contemplating that and feeling that sense of gratitude, I'm going to ask Alina to lead us in some movement and some breath and getting us really rooted and connected to the day so we can start it off right. Alina, the circle is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here. And as you're connecting to that sense of gratitude, that feeling of gratitude, I encourage you to find a straight spine, as straight as you can find it. So we'll root our feet down to the floor and open our hearts and sit up nice and tall. And just feel how nice or not nice that feels. Just checking into your body. What's it feel like to have an open chest, relaxed shoulders, starting to breathe a little bit deeper. And from that tall, straight spine, let's take a gentle twist. So twisting to your right, maybe bringing your hand on the chair behind you, wherever is comfortable, just twisting one way and looking over your shoulder if that's possible. Taking a few deep breaths in your twist. And gently unwind and twist the other way. Taking about 3 or 4 deep breaths, twisting to your left. Imagining a string pulling the top of your head up as you keep turning the chin towards that shoulder and behind you. And gently release and come back to the center. We'll do a very simple exercise that's so good for us, and it was taught to me by a belly dance instructor. You imagine that your brain, instead of a brain, you have honey in your head, and you know how honey slowly moves. If you tilt the jar, it's very slow. We're going to connect to that movement. So you're just going to drop your chin to your chest, and you're going to feel all that honey in your brain start to pull down towards that space between your eyebrows. And so that heavy honey just weighs the head down, relaxing the chin closer and closer to the chest. And now visualize that honey starting to slide on over towards one ear. So you feel the honey go towards one eyebrow and one temple, and your head just slowly moves along with it. Eventually, that honey just gathers in that space right behind your ear, getting a lovely stretch along the side of your neck. Take a breath there. And then feel and see that honey traveling down, again, collecting between the eyebrows as you slowly drop your chin towards your chest. And it travels over towards the other eyebrow and temple, eventually gathering in that space behind the other ear. And so you just slowly move back and forth, visualizing that honey sliding side to side. And if there's any particular space that feels especially needed, just simply hold there and imagine sending your breath into any of those tighter, more constricted spaces. And every exhale is an opportunity to release some tension and constriction. Let's take one more side to side, eventually coming back into the center and sitting tall. Absolutely no rush to get there. But whenever you do, lift your head towards a neutral position. Take a few shoulder rolls back. And take a few deep breaths into that heart space. Namaste, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me for that gentle stretch.
Thank you, Alina. Moving now into our second path, via negativa, the path of releasing, the path of letting go, the path of grieving and emptying and turning ourselves upside down and shaking ourselves out, the path of mystery, in the beauty of darkness and nothingness, in mystery and silence and emptying, and in the letting go and letting be, in the pain and suffering that constitute an equally real part of our spiritual journey. That is the via negativa. And, and this is the moment where, if you brought a stone, I'll ask that you hold on to it, gently hold it in the palm of your hand. If you brought a candle, you may light it. You may have it nearby. You may have it on your desk or on a shelf nearby. Go ahead and take a minute to go ahead and light that candle, or grab that stone. And we'll ask the second question, this question of what are you letting go of today? What are you willing to release this morning? And as we contemplate that question, we'll all move and enter into the silence together. As we move into silence, allow yourself to go deeper and deeper into the silence. And I would also invite you to not only be silent, but be still. We'll spend a couple minutes there, in silence and in stillness. And we'll see you on the other side. And coming gently out of the silence and also out of the stillness, allow yourself to Feel movement or allow yourself to make those noises. Coming out of silence, bringing your awareness now to the circle, to those faces here that are on the screen. Taking a look around. Kirsten's joined us. Good morning, Kirsten. Adam has stepped away. Take a moment to, hey, there she is. Take a moment to really connect with those faces in this virtual space. Making some eye contact. Bringing yourself present for one another. Just allowing some of that empathy to creep in a little bit, knowing and feeling that all of us are experiencing life in such different ways. Pleasure, pain, suffering, joy, awe, wonder, all of it, all together. And that by allowing a little bit of that empathy in, a little bit of feeling what the other is feeling, not too much, right? Not taking on too much, only doing what is yours to do, but allowing yourself to not fuse, but connect and dance with that empathy in a way. Bring yourself in movement with the other. I was in a minyan and a Jewish renewal circle yesterday morning, and one of the prayers that they offered was Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek, and then it means be strong, and strengthen each other. And I thought I would bring that in for us this morning, encouraging us all to lean in at this time when we need to lean on somebody and not take on too much, but just to know that somebody's there, just to dance with them and move with them. And so I'll say it one more time. Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek. Be strong, and strengthen one another. Brian has now joined us. Welcome, Brian. We'll now move into the Via Creativa. And this week's theme, the breaking of the fast. This is an opportunity, and we'll hear more about this from a specific faith tradition later in the circle, but this is something that whether it's a dietary cleanse or a media cleanse or a media fasting or a religious fasting that we're doing, these fasts can affect us in many different ways. And the music that we'll be playing this morning, the Sacred Chord from Stephen Halpern, which I'll share the audio here momentarily, is intentionally minimal and gentle. And the image this morning that we're going to create upon is intentionally blank. It is a blank slate, a blank canvas, because when we re-enter the world after a fast or a cleanse, We must be gentle and very aware and intentional about what it is that we're putting in or putting out. There we go. Wonderful, wonderful. As Jan is joining us, to welcome Jan to the circle. And Brian, welcome to you. I don't know if I had said welcome to you as well. Thanks for joining us. We just finished up the Via Creativa exercise. It was wonderful, and we will share the picture in the Facebook group to see the amazing image that we created together. Our fourth path. The third path, the Via Creativa, which we just traveled together. That's the path of creativity, generativity, divine inspiration. I'll put the question for the Via Creativa in the chat as well, which is, what are you creating or giving birth to today, this week, this month, this year? What are you putting into the world? It is there in the chat. And now we turn to the fourth path, the Via Transformativa, a path of justice and transformation, the path of that is our calling, our sacred work, the path we walk when we return back to the world to share our gifts. The question on the fourth path, what is your sacred work? Or what is the change that you are committed to making in the world? I'm going to post that question in the chat as well. And as we contemplate that question, to lead us in our thoughts today, before we enter into breakouts, Lee has volunteered to do the reading today, and it's a wonderful reading, celebrating and honoring yesterday's holiday of Eid al-Fitr. So I want to unmute Lee and turn the next 5-7 minutes, Lee, over to you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Joran.
You bet.
So y'all, for more than 20 years, I lived in Dallas in close community with Muslims from all over the world. I raised my children in the Sunni faith, which is the largest of the three. Anyway, though I was always spiritually integral and I could not find you all, I looked hard, but I could not find you. Through the experiences, I learned to respect many Muslim traditions and practices and continue to highly value my relationships with the incredibly rich cultures.
Lee, I've got you frozen a little bit. Oh, there you go. Last word I heard was cultures, and you locked up a little bit. And you're still frozen a little bit for me. Is she frozen for everybody else? Yeah.
I can't see you all.
There you are. You're
There
back.
am
You were frozen a little bit. The last thing I heard you say was rich cultures.
Okay. So with people of so many faiths in Dallas and Fort Worth, there is a very strong interfaith tradition, and you wouldn't really expect that in Dallas, but it is. Most notably known by a very famous monument called Thanksgiving Square, with a wonderful little chapel that is based on one from the Middle East, and has, beautiful features, water features, and an incredible window. So in the words of Terry Patton, integral spiritual practice doesn't require belief, but it is informed by and compatible with integral forms of any and all religious traditions. He lists Christian, Jewish, Buddhism, Buddhist, Hindu, Taoist, Islamic, Sikh, shamanic, and others. So as Jordan said, today or last evening marks the end of the annual lunar month of Ramadan for Muslims after a month of fasting without food, drink, sex, and smoking from sunrise to sunset, and intensifying charitable work. The practice is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, which also includes 5 daily prayers. As explained in a post on Regional Interfaith Network, these practices are intended to soften our hearts, which Jordan alluded to earlier, to the situation of others. And of course, now that's prominent in all of our awareness, even more than it was before. And importantly, heighten our awareness of our inner dialogue and our outward actions, and ultimately pull us into closer communication with the divine. Again, this is the Muslim approach. So though challenging, the fast is broken each night with dates, family and community meals, and much joy. In one Muslim's words, at the end, as the end draws near, my heart is always sad. And just to add a little comment, I used to always perceive it as a very sad time. And I was corrected on that through NPR when I suddenly, after being huffy and puffy and frustrated, a friend of mine's daughter was on NPR commenting about what joy it brings her family, even during Ramadan, even when they're fasting, because the nights are so glorious. Interestingly, maybe not interestingly, but I ended up having my daughter marry her brother. So the joy continues in the family. Back to the quote, this is because there's a very sweet quality to this month. The fasting tends to slow me down and lead to gentler qualities being revealed, a real antidote to the fast-paced existence most of us are forced to lead. In the words of, and this is a new quote, in the words of Sufi poet Jalal al-Din Muhammad Rumi, who we all know as Rumi, a 13th century Muslim scholar of Afghan origin, the lips of the master are parched from calling the beloved. The sound of your call resounds through the horn of your empty belly. So as we said, last evening marks the end of this year's Ramadan and the beginning of the 3-day celebration called Eid al-Fitr, the festival of breaking the fast. So while most of the world associates Islam with its rituals and its dogma, many Muslims, and especially the Sufi Muslims, offer teachings and traditions reflecting the mystical side of Islam, known to many through the poetry of Rumi and the whirling dervishes who spin in meditation as dhikr, remembrance of God. I had the pleasure of seeing them one year in SMU. It was wonderful. One Islamic writer, Dina Muhammad Basioni, has stated, spirituality in Islam is more than just a feeling. It's the true knowledge of the source of the spirit, sincere pursuit of him, persistent connection with him, and commitment to loving him and remaining on his path until the day we meet him. As another Muslim explained, it is a life journey of growth, sincerity, and commitment to the Creator, the source of the spirit, not a fleeting moment of excitement or spiritual boost. In Islamic tradition, it is held that God has at least 99 names, referred also as qualities or attributes, many of which are revealed in the Quran. These 99 names are held by some Muslims to be portals for deep connection with the divine reality. And as another devout Muslim explained, for me, as for many Muslims, the focus this month has really been praise in the forms of prayer, recitation of sacred texts, meditation, and contemplation, anything which nourishes my connection with the divine. So today I will contact my Muslim family and friends and greet them with the words Eid Mubarak, and it simply means happy Eid. May the coming year bring you an abundance of goodness. May Allah bless you and your entire family. So now I'd like to give a brief prayer. It's kind of a combination of prayers, but today in the Muslim tradition, I offer the following as my form of prayer. From the Quran, the following verses resonated with me now. The taking of one innocent life is like taking all of mankind, and the saving of one life is like saving all of mankind. That's Quran verse 533. And a second one, he is the one God, the creator, the initiator, the designer. To him belong the most beautiful names. Glorifying him is everything in the heavens and the earth. He is the Almighty, most wise. Quran, verse 59:24. So as Muslims routinely say, I offer the Muslim prayer that sums it all up so well. Alhamdulillah. And that is, praise be to God for the abundance of blessings we have today. Despite COVID-19 and the immeasurable suffering in the world, Muslims will be saying that all over the world, even when they are heartbroken about losing another, because it could have been more than one. May this Eid bring good health, joy, peace, and prosperity to each of you and to your family, regardless of your faith. May Allah fill your heart with love, your soul with peace, and your mind with wisdom this Eid. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you so much. And before we go into our breakouts, I want to talk a little bit about the question we're going to be asking today. Here, I'll post it in the chat for you all to see. When have you broken a fast? And what did you learn? And what did you experience? For me, this could be a religious fast. This could be even a health, a cleanse. We've done multiple juice cleanses in our family throughout the years. We've even done a media cleanse, a no screens week, where nobody's looking at any screens and we're only listening to records. We're not streaming any music. We've done all kinds of things where we will intentionally deprive ourselves of something. And I know for me that when I return to the world from that fasting process, the little screens at the gas pump are like, I can't even with them, right? Like, it's just, you are so attuned to how many screens there are around you at all times. When you come out from a fast or a cleanse, you don't want to put something that isn't real raw food in your mouth, right? You are so attuned to the taste and the flavor and where it came from and the process of life, that is our bodies and is our nourishment. So for you, this is what I want us to consider and discuss among our small groups this morning. When have you broken a fast? No matter what fast or cleanse it was. Be Lent, it could be whatever, anything you've done, if at all. And what did you learn? What did you experience? What were the qualitative experiences that you took away from it? So any questions about the conversation we're about to have? We're about to spend about 10 minutes in our breakouts. Any questions before we go in? Okay. I'm going to split us up into 2 rooms. Well, no, I'm going to do 3 rooms. Let's see how many people. There we go. There we go. Yeah, 2 or 3 people per room. That sounds good. I'm just going to look at who we have. All right, that's good. Yeah, okay. And, all right, I'm going to invite you to your rooms now, and I'll see you in about 10 minutes. Good morning. Welcome back, everyone. I tell you what, I usually have people rushing back into the main room, and you all pushed it all the way to the end this time. Must have had some good conversations this morning.
You always make us think.
Good. Brian, it's good to see your face.
Yeah, I needed to wake up a little bit first. My sleep, I was telling them my sleep patterns are not very healthy right now.
Okay, so, all right. Well, you got to get it when you can take it then.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what I want to do? I want to hear some report outs from everybody like we do, based on your conversations that you had in your rooms. I want to start with, um, let's see, Jeff. I'll start with Jeff. What were some of the big takeaways in your group?
I think that we talked about, certain deprivations. I did a sensory deprivation, and there was an amazing contrast coming out of 4 days of a soundproof, lightproof environment. So the contrast was dramatic. In the fasting, the food contrast, Jennifer talked about um, learning in the fast to appreciate the foods more when you come out of the fast. So again, a contrast of the deprivation. And Alan talked about building in a kind of sensory deprivation when you're laying in bed. You close your eyes, you have no vision, you white noise so that you have no sound interrupt, and you go into a heart-based reality where you realize that the reality of you is not what just disappeared. It's the heart and the love that comes from that new base of reality. I thought that was wonderful.
Excellent. Thank you. Jan, 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 go ahead and unmute you. And what were some of the big highlights, big takeaways from your group?
Well, the first thing that came forth from Susan was an understanding that sometimes doing something such as a fast, it works better with groups. It makes it possible if you're doing it with other people. Because I had said, well, I've got 2 grandsons around and a daughter and a husband, and he needs to eat 3 times a day. So if we're talking about food, forget it, and they eat like 10 times a day. So, but I appreciated her suggestion. And then we also talked about, if you think about this whole house sheltering thing, for 2 months, we've all been trying to stay within our own parameters, not to have a lot of contact with outside people. That in a way that's been a kind of fast. And I thought about it, it is the whole group, it's all of society. We've all been asked to work in this fasting, which is really a slowing. It's kind of funny, the word slow fast. So for me, that jumped out. We've been doing a slow, not a fast. But you know what I'm saying, it's a play on words. And so I really learned from this. And I am cleaning out and trying to figure out what to do with all of my music, the music from teaching, the music from studying, the music from performance in groups, specific groups, and then all of the writing and the tasks, and trying to formulate one path to go down for the rest of my life. Due to my age, I have to be more focused. And I've come out of this fasting or slowing with the understanding that I've gone in many different directions, and now is the time to bring things together and to be more direct and more focused on whatever it is that is going to call to me. Nice. So thank you, everybody.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you, Jan. I'm going to turn then to Kirsten. What were some of the big takeaways from your group?
Well, it was mainly me. A lot of the fasting was myself, but her conversations was more like, instead of the fasting, she became a vegetarian. One of her experiences that she explained was when she was a child, she had surgery, and the first thing that they gave her to eat after 3 days was chicken broth, and how good it tasted. So, from my own experience and listening to that, it is like when you take something away for such a whatever it be, couple days, 3 days, you have appreciation for something more. And that was, I mentioned with mine personally was, I took a 3-year celibacy. And that was my biggest fasting that I did for myself, and the amount of gratitude for myself that came out of it, and other things, obviously. But there's something in there that you, no matter what kind of fasting you do, there is something in there that you appreciate. You come out of it appreciating something. So that's pretty much kind of what we talked about.
Awesome. Thank you, Kirsten.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. And thank you, everyone, for sharing. Love those conversations that we have in those groups. Want to take a minute before we move into our closing meditation, and especially now that Brian's got his shirt on, I'm going to take a group photo. So everybody say cheese for the camera, and everybody smile on a count of three. 1, 2, 3. All right, perfect. Thank you, guys. All right. Now after you feel very seen and very observed and very gazed upon, now we can move into our closing meditation where everybody's going to close your eyes and you know that nobody's going to be looking at you at all. So for our closing meditation, I'm going to turn it over to Susan, who's volunteered to lead that this morning. I'm going to go ahead and unmute her. And Susan, I don't think I'm going to do the video this morning, the slideshow.
Okay.
Just going to let
Yeah.
it be what it is. So
Yeah, that's something we talked about before. And thank you, everybody. And thank you, Jordan, for allowing me to be here with you all in not so much in a rushed way. We've got some time, I feel. So I hope to be able to use this time for all of us wisely.
Mhm.
It could be that you might want to, as well as you being muted, you might want to just stop your video, because I'm going to be inviting us into a quiet, sacred place, and that place is within you. And I believe I can even stop my own and still be heard, and I'm going to do that. And then just a reminder, when we come out, I believe we each have to bring our own video back on. So taking a couple of moments as we sink more deeply in, I'm going to use our breath today first just to get us into this space. Alina gave us a wonderful, sweet honey meditation, and I'm still rolling around and reveling in the sweetness of that thick honey. And so I just invite you to kind of bring yourself back to that beginning where we started, most of us who were here, to a place of stillness and quiet and comfort. And so finding that place in your bodies, in your mind, where you are just most comfortable, most at rest, and pay attention to where your natural breath is. I'd like to play with our breath a little bit, and I'm going to invite us through 3 cycles of 3 breaths, and I'm going to speak through what I'm going to guide us through first. The first 3 breaths, I'm going to ask us to inhale through the nose and blow it out the mouth as if you're blowing through a straw. Don't do it yet, just listen to my voice, please. And the second sets of 3 breaths, I'm going to invite us to inhale through the nose and to letter S it out the mouth. And we'll pause in between each of those cycles of 3 just to find a couple natural breaths. And then thirdly, I'm going to invite us to take our inhales through the nostrils, through the nose, and to it out the mouth. And this shh may be symbolic of just stilling and quieting. Use those ways of breathing and just have fun with it. Be playful. And so just find your natural breath. I'm not going to guide every breath because we all breathe at different rates, but I'll just cue the first of the 3 and just finding natural breath for a couple of breath cycles. And then go ahead and find 3 complete breath cycles of inhale and exhale exhale it out with a blowing, an a sighing out the mouth. Pausing for just a moment. And then go ahead and enter into 3 breath cycles where you inhale through the nose and spit out the mouth. Whatever feels comfortable and right for you. Letting no sense of discomfort or agitation come. If it does, just go back to natural breath at any time. And then all of us together come into your own natural breath patterns and notice they might be changing. Enjoy that. And then take 3 more conscious breath cycles to bring yourself into a place of complete stillness and quiet. Maybe bringing that heaviness, that weightedness, that focus to that 3rd eye place that Alina had us at. And use the breath with inhale through the mouth, inhale through the nose, and just spit out the mouth. Find some breath cycles of that kind. Allowing that last to just bring you into a place of complete stillness. Silence. From here, I'm going to use some word symbols to direct us. Take what works for you, just allow words that don't just to pass by. Consider as we come out of fast, as we break fast, that we will move into feast. And I'm going to courageously invite you to consider the possibility of feasting on uncertainty. Can we bring a new meaning to this uncertainty that we've all been bathing in, surviving in? Can we take this uncertainty and feast on it? Can we consider the 2 word symbols together? Sublime uncertainty. Can we bring new meaning and consider with Alina's beautiful honey metaphor the sweetness of uncertainty? I invite each of us into that place of deep surety and certainty where we can abide safely and securely to open up our minds and our hearts to the possibility of feasting on uncertainty, sublime uncertainty, and the sweetness of uncertainty. We'll take another minute to sink more deeply into this possibility. Allowing the breath to deepen, to widen, to soften, to enliven you again. Trusting fully in that place of certainty that is within us, and that we share all alike with one another, with gratitude for the strength that we gain in these experiences shared with one another. May we feast on this experience. Thank you. We'll come out with our bringing our own videos out. Thank you.
Susan, thank you so much for that. That was sweet. Some announcements. We're continuing to do the bi-weekly circles virtually, and then posting the replay. Still doing our men's circle virtually. Last Tuesday of the month, which means this Tuesday we'll be hosting that on Zoom from 7:30 to 9 Eastern Daylight Time. We are also later this week, Friday, the International Integral Church team, which means the Hungarian circles and the United States circles are joining forces to present or host or convene a virtual integral church circle for the Integral European Conference, which is happening this year online. There are still tickets available for that. I think the student tickets are as low as around $75 for all 5 days of programming. Keynote speakers include Ken Wilber, Terry Patton, who Lee mentioned earlier, Otto Scharmer, founder of Theory U, I think of Brian Robertson, author of Holacracy. Many amazing keynote speakers and presenters, including some friends of mine. Jordan Mishka Allen is presenting on circling. There's some embodiment work. There's some programming around psychedelics, shamanism, things like that. It's a very comprehensive program that's happening that is not strictly academic, but for those of you who want a real broad collection of content. The recordings will be made available, and even if you can't attend all of them this week, you can then ingest them in your own time. And I highly recommend it for people who who are interested in those types of conferences and who will have the time, maybe this month or even this year, to go back and watch the videos. Registering for the conference is as easy as going to integraleuropeanconference.com, or you can just search IEC 2020 and it'll come up. And there's links to it on our webpage as well, and in our most recent newsletter. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's it for the announcements. I want to take a minute to encourage everyone, if you have not liked our Facebook page or joined our Facebook group or connected with us on Twitter, any of that, I'm going to put the links in the chat right now. Please be sure to share that. If there's somebody that you think should be attending these circles, please invite them. Please just tell them that, hey, this is a church that's not like any other church. Like it's kind of unlike what you might think it is. I get asked a lot, like, oh, is it like, are you preaching to a bunch of people, online? Is it like televangelism? It's definitely not that. You all know that. So if you think there's somebody who not needs to be here, but who you'd like to see as part of this circle, invite them. Tell them a little bit about what this is and what it's like, maybe what you've gotten out of it. And let's see if we can get a few more people in the room in that way. So the links are there in the chat, and I think that concludes our circle this morning. I'm going to close with, well, first I want to thank Lee and Alina and Susan for contributing to the programming this morning. This has been so meaningful and so important to me to have people step up and volunteer to really, stir the stone soup, together and make this a really wonderful thing. And if there's anybody else that wants to offer to lead a reading or read a prayer or lead a meditation, whatever, you just reach out to me, okay? And I'm going to close this up by offering our integral dedication. So everybody will be unmuted, and I'm going to ask you all to repeat after me. May my consciousness and my behavior
May my consciousness and my behavior
be of benefit to all beings in all places,
be of benefit to all beings in all places,
liberating all into the spirit,
liberating
all into the spirit
of this and every moment.
Of this and every moment.
Amen.
Amen. Namaste.
Namaste.
And thank you again, everybody, for coming. I hope you have an amazing rest of your Sunday and Memorial Day holiday tomorrow. And please continue to reach out to one another and give and offer that support and ask for that support when needed too. Love to you all.
Thank you, Joran.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
love you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian.
I'm
Good
glad that I was here today.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Lee, your thing, it was marvelous. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so
Thank you,
sweet. So was
Susan.
your meditation. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Joran, as always.